What happened last night for the Lakers was the first quarter hurt them. Late in the game, when the Hawks could not score, the Lakers couldn't score. The Hawks were stuck on 110 points from 6.5 minutes left to inside of 2 minutes left.
Yeah. And they started the fourth quarter with 100 points.
Right. And they scored 10. And I mean, the fourth quarter, the Hawks couldn't score at all. I think they scored 17 for the quarter overall. And they went on a 5-minute drought without any points. And the Lakers barely chipped into the lead. At the end of the game, LeBron was clearly gassed, probably because he played 44 minutes like it was an elimination playoff game, not a game against Atlanta. They had a playoff-style rotation where they played essentially 7 guys, which was inexplicable to me. There were so many things in this game that were indefensible and inexplicable. The way the Lakers started, the way they couldn't finish, the rotations throughout. The Hawks had their big men were instantly in foul trouble. And Luke Walton's response to that was, let's just not play a center all night. Let's just have LeBron. Let's try the point center lineup for one of the first times all year. This was almost a must-win game for the Lakers. The rotations and LeBron usage would tell you they knew it was a must-win game, and yet the players and the coach couldn't respond, and this is an indefensible, inexplicable loss for them, Steve.
And it's going to sit with them for a long time. You don't want to lose to a team like the Hawks. The Hawks, worse than the NBA, giving up 118 points a game. You're going in there, you need to win. After the big blowout this weekend against the 76ers, get a nice break, recharge your battery, which we all thought, make this last push, 25, 28 game push, get into the playoffs and see what we can do. But this loss right here, like we're going to get to 6 weeks from now, will we look back and be like, man, that was the night that they didn't make the playoffs? Right. Because it's on the board. Like we were thinking, oh, man, they're going to definitely make the playoffs. They need to get to the 7 line so they can avoid Golden State. Oh, I just believe with what I saw last night, because the reason why they had the rotation, I'm not trying to justify that, but they were trying to win. There are games where you have teams that are one team is superior than the other, and they don't care. They're trying to preserve themselves. They got guys sitting out, or the NBA, sometimes guys will just mail it in. No, the Lakers were trying to win this game. So for me, you could be like, in watching the game, it wasn't like the Hawks were just unconscious the first quarter. The Lakers were lazy on defense, and they were getting some wide open looks. You can't give a team like the Hawks 10 3-pointers in the first quarter.
It's insane.
And then they tightened up in the second quarter defensively, but in the third quarter went right back to sleep. So the inconsistency that we've seen from a defensive standpoint, and that's been there with the Lakers since the third week in January, it continued last night.
Earlier this week, we talked about this 26-game push, and you mapped out what has to happen. And it was almost like an Atlanta, well, they have to beat Atlanta. It's not even they have to. I mean, they have to beat Atlanta. So they don't. When you look at this team now, is this rock bottom for the Lakers?
Yes. And C's point on this is going to sit with them for a while. They don't play again until, obviously, after the All-Star break. They got 10 days to think about this. 10 days to think about if they're going to have a new coach after the All-Star break. 10 days to think about what is this team's identity right now. So much of last night was just inexplicable because, so it's one thing if you're going to play it like a playoff game where you think LeBron's going to play 43, 44 minutes. At least be smart about when he gets his rest. There's a way to steal extra rest. If you're going to have a guy miss 2 minutes of game time, have it be the final minute of a quarter, then the first minute of the next quarter, so he is literally sitting on the bench during the quarter break. And Luke Walton didn't do that. He played the entire first quarter. It was sat out the beginning of the second, and then the other 2 times he went out of the game were mid-quarter and then went back in later in that quarter. That's not real rest. That's not real time sitting on the bench. Sometimes you can be out of a game for 7 minutes of real time and only miss 2 minutes of actual time. This is, you look at it, Jen, I said they had 10 losses to play with. Now they got 9 losses to play with. This wasn't supposed to be one of those losses.
Yeah, the style of play, too, I had a hard time at the end trying to identify what they were trying to do. Because the first 3 quarters, the Lakers been what they've done through the season, trying to get up and down the court. LeBron basically being the #1 ball handler. But I had a big problem. LeBron got gassed. He's not in the type of shape that we're used to seeing him in. And to me, he did the Hawks a favor, settling for jump shots last night. And only shooting 20 shots, LeBron can't shoot 10 threes. He's got to go to the bucket and get to the free throw line to be able to stabilize a team like that. And to me, the Lakers, one of the worst free throw shooting teams I've ever seen, and LeBron is still not. Now, last night he wasn't bad, but his lack of confidence at the line had me wondering, why are you setting him for all those jump shots last night when you should have been taking the ball to the rack and going to the line? He should have been at the free throw line 12, 13, 14 times last night. That's how they could have gotten the win, but he decided to stay outside the three-point arc and jack up three-pointers. I didn't like that in a game that he was playing like they had to win too.
Especially when late in the game the Hawks can't score and you have a chance to actually make it, not they made it a game, but you have a chance to take back control of the game. And it wasn't a night where LeBron, I think, was afraid to get fouled. He was 9-11 from the line. He was actually hitting. It was one of his best free throw shooting nights of the year. The reason I think he was shooting jump shots late is it's exhausting to go to the rim. I think he was totally gassed.
But when you're gassed, your jump shot's going to go first.
Agreed. I'm not saying it was the right strategy, but what we see guys when they're tired settle instead of doing what's difficult, which is why you don't play someone.
44 minutes.
Other than James Harden, I would guess there isn't a top 10 player in this league, that maybe Giannis, that has played 43+ minutes in a non-overtime game this year. You don't do that. You save that for the must-win games in the postseason, and even then, you got to do it smarter than they did it last night.
The elephant in the room is going to come down to coaching and whether Luke Walton is the guy, and we're going to talk about that coming up, but I'll ask you the same question that LeBron was asked after the game. Do you think this team right now can actually make the playoffs?
I think they can make the playoffs. I think they all but waved goodbye to the 7 seed last night. Later in the evening, the Spurs got a 1-point victory over Memphis. Memphis missed a free throw late. The Spurs are the team they're chasing. So they could have, if that game goes a little different and the Lakers take care of business, you could wake up this morning, Lakers are 2 back of the 7 seed. Instead, they're 4 back of the 7 seed. Do I think they can catch the Kings and the Clippers? I do, because the Kings have, I think, 3 straight losses coming up at Denver, at OKC, at Golden State. And the Clippers, we know they're going to regress once. They don't have Tobias Harris. We know how good he is. But the 8 seed,
you don't want to see them in that 8 seed. They'll have to face the Warriors.
I mean, right. Like, for who, for what at this point? Like, yeah, you can make the playoffs. You can break that streak. A Lakers season without a playoff berth. But to get to face the Warriors in the first round, so LeBron can get washed by the Warriors for the 3rd straight year?
Yeah, I'm not going to overreact to last night's loss. It's a bad loss for the team. I do believe that LeBron is going to play the last 25 games like we haven't seen him play 25-game stretch in a long time. I do believe they have a couple different levels they can go up to. I also believe that Denver can also get the #1 seed. I'm not just going to concede that to Golden State, because then if they're in the 8th seed, sometimes things work out like that. But LeBron James exiting the NBA playoffs in the first round in his Laker debut, that would not be a good season for the Lakers. And when you're playing bad basketball, it's just like playing bad football. When New England was playing bad football, you know what, Tom Brady? What were people saying?
Too old.
He looks old. LeBron James against the Hawks, and when you're playing bad basketball, well, LeBron's starting to look old. So I'm looking forward to seeing these last 25 games, because the King is going to have to be able to carry them, not act like a prince.
The fact that he looks old with a triple-double last night, but then on top of that, the loss. It was just a confusing night and a bad loss for the Lakers. Coming up, you mentioned football. See, let's talk some football. Can the Steelers contend without Antonio Brown? They might have to.